Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, you're a studio that makes horror movies and you'll be combining the right scripts, actors, props, locations, and music to be a box office success. Nightmare Productions is for 2 to 5 players, takes 60 minutes to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by Trick or Treat Studios. Today, we'll be doing a rule school where I'll teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rulebook yourself. Now I place timestamps below me right in the description of this video, just in case you want to jump to a specific section of the rules. Let's get started. Nightmare Productions is a re-implementation of a Reiner Knizia classic where you're going to be a studio that makes horror movies, trying to have the best rated movies, and winning as many awards as you can. And you'll be gathering different types of things for your screenplay, like creatures or legendary creatures or directors or props, maybe contracts, acting as a wild, maybe a musical composer, and sometimes you can even get cameos which aren't even necessary to complete your masterpiece, and you'll be rated. The more stars, the better. And hopefully you'll be winning awards like having the first of a specific genre, or best movie of the season, maybe even movie of the year in a certain genre, maybe even the casting award at the end of the game for the most total legendary creatures and how high they're rated. But have no fear, because even having the worst completed movie will get you some points at the end as well. And you're trying to have the most points from awards and ratings for all your completed movies at the end of the game. To set up, first you're going to take the board and put it in the middle of the table. Next, each player is going to select one of the 5 studios that's in the game and take the player shield from that studio. Any of these that aren't used in the game can be removed and placed back in the box. Then, depending on the studio that you took, you're going to find the 3 screenplay strips for that studio, and you'll place them in front of your screen so it will look something like this. Now, if you're playing a 2-player game, you don't play with the shields, you just take any 3 screenplay strips from the same studio. Also, in the earlier step, if you removed any of the screens that weren't being used in this game, for example, let's say we were playing a 4-player game and nobody was using Horror Incorporated, so we removed this, you'd also remove the 3 screenplay strips from that studio as well. The other screenplay strips that don't have a studio on them, there's 7 of these. You're going to shuffle these and place them in a face-up pile so you can only see the top one like this, and notice they don't have any studio names on them. Next, you're going to separate out the 4 legendary creature tiles. They have this icon on the back of them. You're going to shuffle them and you're going to place them right on the spot, and if you notice, this has the same icon that's on the back of these tiles, and you'll place them just like that. Next, you'll find the rest of the tiles. You'll place them face down, you'll shuffle them all, and then you'll stack them next to the board. It doesn't matter how many stacks you have as long as it's all randomized. Next, you can make a supply of money tokens on the side of the board. Then you'll give each player 12 of those money tokens, and they'll place it behind their screen, keep hidden. Unless you're playing with 5 players, then each player gets 10 of these instead of 12. Next, you're going to place rating markers matching the numbers that are on the board. So it'll look like this, and notice that numbers between 8 and 14 each have 2 tokens. You want to make sure the one with the plus is on the top like that. Then we're going to start filling out this section with the awards. So for Movie of the Year, you'll put these 3 10-point awards there, and they're from the different colors of green, purple, and red, different genres. We'll talk about that later. Then you'll put these 3 first movie awards. They're all worth 5 points of the different genres. Then you'll put these 3 best movie awards. They're all identical, 5 points. And then on the right side, you'll place the 2 10-point awards for the worst movie and the best casting as shown. You'll then give the first player starting marker to the one that has most recently seen a horror movie. The object of the game is to have the most points, and you'll be getting points by making movies. You'll be getting points from the ratings and from the awards. The game is played over 4 rounds. Each round will be visiting each of these spots on the board, and each of these will have tiles that we'll be trying to get to put into our movies. At the beginning of each of the 4 rounds, you're first going to place the top legendary creature into this spot face up. So for this round, it might look like this. Next, you'll notice there are 2 spots that say HorrorCon. For both of those spots, you'll take 1 tile for each player that's in the game from the stacks that's off to the side and place them face down. So in this case, we're playing with 4 players, so we took 4 tiles and put them face down. You'll do this for each of the HorrorCon spots. For all the rest of the spaces, you'll be placing a certain amount of tiles from off to the side, face up into all those spaces. So for example, all the rest of the spaces might look something like this. Now, as you can see on your Screenplay strips, we have different icons depicting different parts of your movie. And you'll also notice that there's some matching icons on some of the tiles that are out on the board. You're gonna be trying to get those to place them here to make your movies. So you're gonna start from the upper left-hand side of the board. Each space we're gonna start at and work our way down. Here, we're just going to auction this off, starting with the first player and going in clockwise order. And you can either bid or pass. And you can never bid more than what you have, and you always have to beat the previous highest bid. So this player might open up and say 3 million. Now, if nobody else has bid yet, you may choose to bid 0. Now, if you pass, you can no longer bid in this current round for this specific spot. Now this continues around the table, possibly multiple times, skipping over any players that have previously passed until all but one player has passed. Now when someone wins, they're gonna take all the tiles from that spot that they auctioned off. In this case, it's just one. Now they'll also take the first player marker, which means they'll be the first one in the auction in the next spot. But they'll get to place it in one of the open spots that matches it. So they could place it here or here, here for example. Let's say they place it here. Now, when paying the money that they used to get this, and they're gonna place it on that spot on the board. For example, let's say they won with 7 million. They'll put 7 million here, then they will evenly distribute this to all the other players that did not win. So if this was a 4-player game, there were 3 other players that did not win. Each of those 3 will take 2, leaving 1 remainder on the board. And so it might look something like this. So now this player, who did not win the auction, gained 2 in addition to what they had not spent since the beginning of the game. Now this remaining money will stay here until next round when someone ends up auctioning off the spot for that tile. The money that they also spent in the auction will get added to this, and it possibly will get divvied up to the other players. Now in the unlikely event that everyone passes, all the tiles on that spot get removed, placed back in the box, and you go to the next spot on the board. So in this case, we'd go to the next spot. This is for all 3 tiles. So the auction would again start with the start player and continue in the same way. The one that wins this auction gets to take all of those tiles. And of course you pay out the same way. So after the next 2 spots, you'll find yourself going to one of the 2 HorrorCon spots, and these work a little differently. Now if you remember, these tiles will place face down here at the beginning of the round. When you get to this spot, all of them get flipped face up. And then each of the players are gonna be able to take one of these tiles. But the order that you do this is determined by the total number of creatures and cameos that you have. Now on the inside of the rulebook, it actually has what all these different things are. Like for example, that is props, that's music composers. We have sometimes directors and things like that. These are cameos. Anything like this looks like a creature. So right now we have 1. We have this. Maybe we have a total of 2 because now we have, in this case, a cameo there as well. Or maybe we had 3. Whatever it is. You look to see who has the most combined of these on all of their Screenplay strips, and whoever has the most will get to draft first, and so on and so forth. If it's tied, you start with first player in turn order and work your way around. Now you'll be going through the board again from top left to bottom right, all the way through, and all of these are the same types of places I've already showed you about. Now when you get tiles, you can place them on any one of your screenplays, but they must match the icons. There's an exception I'll go over in a minute. If you do place one and you decide to place it on where there's something is already there, like this is a music composer with a star, this one doesn't, you will replace it just like this, and you would discard this one to the box. Now, cameos don't have to be completed in order to complete something. Also, the special exception is you can always place a contract, and those look like this. You can always place those right here onto any of the wilds, but you can never place them on the cameos, and it shows you right here you cannot place those there. But think of these as a wild for everything except a cameo. And as soon as you have everything completed, and again, you don't need to have a cameo completed, and so now that this is completed, we're going to add the stars from here and all of the ones that are here. And so that's a 15, and you're going to go to the rating and you're going to take it. Now let's just say we were going to get a 15, it was not there. You would take the next one down. In this case, it would be the 14, but the one that has the plus, which essentially is like a tiebreaker for this. But let's say it looked like this when we got the 15, we would have to take the 12. And you'll place that marker here, let's say we did get the 15. Now, this is from a genre or category, and this one is supernatural. Now I've removed this just to show you these are the sections for the first movie, and we just had the first movie done of this genre or category of supernatural, so we'll get to take it. And essentially that's going to get us points at the end of the game. And the other categories are creature features for red and slashers for the green color. Then you'll go to the top of the stack of the ones that we set up that were not part of the starting studios, and you'll take the top one and place it in front of your screen. And so this is another screenplay that you can work on. Now once you've finished the 8th spot on the board, you've completed one of the 4 rounds in the game. Now if it's one of the first 3 rounds, you'll be giving away one of these best movies, and that's why there's only 3 of them, because you'll give one at the end of each of the first 3 rounds. So let's say this movie of ours, let's say it actually looked like this. We didn't have the star there, so we got a 14 plus. Now the one that has the highest rated movie, meaning the one that has the highest ranking in this chip here, would get this. So let's say we're the highest, but let's say somebody else had a 14. If we had the 14 plus, we would be the one to win this. Now it doesn't matter if it has another award. It also doesn't even matter, let's say it's the end of the 2nd round and this is still the highest. Even if it's already won one of these, it can win it again. And then you'd start another round, just like I said before. Again, the first step would be taking this and putting it face up and starting from this space and working your way down like we did before. Now if it's the end of the 4th round, it's the end of the game. And what you're gonna do is give away the movie of the year for each of these categories. So for each movie that's in those categories, you're gonna look and whoever has the highest rated movie is gonna get that. Remembering it could have already won some awards, it doesn't matter. And if it's a tie, you go to the one that has the plus. Then you're gonna give away this Best Casting Award. And it's gonna be given to the person that has the total combined stars from their creatures and legendary creatures. So here we have 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. If we had the most of those, we would get this. If it's tied for the most, this gets discarded and not given to anybody. Also keep in mind that even though contracts can be used as wilds, if they're in a creature spot, they don't count as a creature for that award. Then finally, you'll give the 10-point worst movie to the lowest rated marker on any completed screenplay. And if it's tied, the player without the plus wins this award because that's considered to be worse. And at the end, you're gonna add up all of the numbers on your ratings of your completed screenplays and all the awards you've won. Whoever has the highest is the winner. And if it's tied, the player that has the single highest rating marker wins. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Nightmare Productions faster than you would if you had to read the rulebook yourself. Now, if you have further questions about the rules, I've placed a link below me right in the description of this video. That's the best place to ask them since I'll be notified, but so will Trick or Treat Studios.